Good afternoon, everyone. I hope I am audible to everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. We welcome you all to today's webinar conducted by onlinetaxupdate.com. Onlinetaxupdate.com is a website which shares recent update in GST, GST Council meeting recommendation, budget updates, articles on important topic and judgments, etc. It has a notes section where GST law is presented in a simple language for professionals, taxpayer to learn GST in a simple way. It has a section-wise notes and judgment analysis under the title Logics as well. Online Tax Update shares newsletter to subscribers for a very nominal fees. We hope it will help you to in your GST compliance. Today's topic of webinar is scrutiny under section 61, GST audit under section 65, and adjudication under section 73 and 74 of CGST Act by faculty Mr. CA Hemant Singhal Ji. Just a minute. Hello. Hello. Aji. लिंक से हो जाएगा सर, आप उसको क्लिक करोगे ना तो आपका पेज ओपन होगा जहाँ पे आप उसको व्यू कर सकते हो। क्रोम में कीजिए उसको, नहीं तो लिंक को कॉपी करके लिंक क्रोम में एक बार ट्राई कीजिए। हाँ। ओके। अच्छा 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 ओके। अच्छा एक बार फिर से ट्राई कीजिए सर। अच्छा एक बार ट्राई कीजिए। हाँ हाँ। Excuse me, sir, attendees. Hemant Singhal, to introduce about Hemant Singhal Ji, he is a fellow member of Institute of Chartered Accountant of India with more than 15 years of experience in indirect taxation. He is qualified his chartered accountancy in the year 2009 with All India rank. He is also a member of Institute of Company Secretary of India and a graduate from Shahid Bhagat Singh College of Commerce, University of Delhi. He has recently completed his law degree from Kumaon University, Uttarakhand. He is currently practicing in a full-fledged CA firm. He is a regular speaker in the region of on GST and delivered seminars at various prestigious platforms. His views are regularly published by leading journals. He is also a faculty with the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. He has recently published a book, GST Simplified, for making GST easy and simple. So without taking much time, let us start the session. After the end of the session, there will be a question answer. And in between, if you have any query, you can post it in the chat box or raise your hand. So it can be an interactive session. Now I would like to request Hemant Singhal Ji to take over the session. Over to you, Hemant Singhal Ji.
Thanks, Ganeshan. Online Tax Update is doing a wonderful job. I'm seeing you are working very hard for making the professionals aware about the recent changes that are being taking place in GST. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Hemant Singhal. So I will just share my screen. So is the screen visible?
Yet not, sir.
Okay.
Now it is visible. Yeah.
And I am audible?
Yeah, sir, you are audible. Yeah.
So, as discussed, today we are going to discuss about assessments and demands. So, more than 6 years have passed since GST was implemented in India, and now we have come to the second stage or second phase of GST, where a lot of notices are being issued and are being adjudicated by the department. So at this stage, we should equip ourselves with the various tools that are available with the department for inquiry or investigation. Then, based on these investigations and inquiries, how the demand is carried forward or determined finally in the adjudication proceedings, that is section 73 and 74, and finally how the order is passed, which is later on being litigated by the taxpayers. So, to start with, we will start with the assessment process. So, to give just a brief idea about how the today's webinar is going to function, we will initially share the investigation tools that are available in section 61, scrutiny, and audit, section 65. Apart from this, department can also do search under section 67. So these are the various tools or various parts which are promulgated in the law with the GST officers, with the department. And based on these investigations, these findings of these search, this scrutiny and audit, a evidences are procured by the department, and based on these evidences, determination of tax is performed in adjudication. So basically, what show cause notice does, it brings an end to the investigation. So once a show cause notice is issued under section 73 or section 74, this means that the previous proceedings, whether it is scrutiny, whether it is audit, whether it is search, they are concluded. They are concluded, and the investigating officer is of the mind that a tax has been short paid or not paid, or the ITC has been availed in excess, or refund has been availed in excess. So based on the findings of these inquiries, investigation, only the tax officer can proceed in the adjudication. Okay. So I think everyone is with me till now. If there are any questions, then I will be happy to answer them within the webinar itself also, or we can take it later on also. So to keep the session interactive, I will appreciate if there are any queries. Uh, I will ask the participants to just raise it during the webinar itself. So moving ahead, so let's see assessment. So section 59. We all are aware that section 59 is a self-assessment. We can also use the chat box to answer various questions that I will be raising during the uh, webinar. So, section 59 is one of the most powerful sections of the GST law. It gives the taxpayer right to self-assess his tax liability. And normally, it cannot be impeached whatsoever. The GST law is promulgated in a manner that it trusts the taxpayer. So it cannot be impeached without any evidences with the department on this behalf. So how these evidences will be procured by the department? For that, law has provided separate sections. It is done by the assessments, the power of the assessment which has been given to the officers. So for accumulating the evidences for raising or impeaching the self-assessment and raising a demand is by the section 61, 65, or 67. So the first section that we are going to discuss today is with regard to scrutiny of returns. So, whatsoever returns that we have filed in our GSTR 3B, R1 or 9, the proper officer, the jurisdiction officer, has the power to verify the correctness of the returns on the portal. And based on the scrutiny of the returns, he can issue a notice in ASMT 10 on the discrepancies noticed. Till the issue of ASMT 10, there should be minimum interaction with the taxpayer. The law is promulgated in a fashion that it doesn't allow the officer to communicate or to interact with the taxpayer, the registered taxable person, before the issue of the notice in ASMT 10. So, in scrutiny under section 61, read with rule 99, the proper officer has to verify the correctness of the returns, and based on the discrepancies observed, he can issue a AST 10 notice to the taxpayer. For one financial year, efforts are required to be made by the proper officer to keep all the discrepancies in a single notice. It is not allowed to keep two separate notices for the same financial year. That will be against the spirit of the law. Okay. Normal time is 30 days, which has been provided under the law for completion of the scrutiny proceedings. Now, if based on the discrepancy observed by the proper officer or the investigating authority, if the taxpayer is of the view that the discrepancy is correct and the tax is required to be paid, he can discharge his duty, or he can challenge the discrepancy and share his views on the discrepancy observed or noted in form ASMT 11. Right. So the reply is filed in ASMT 11. Then, based on the reply submitted by the taxpayer, the jurisdiction officer or the proper officer is required to verify the reply, consider the reply, and based on his consider and based on this consideration and his views, his opinion, he can either drop the proceedings or issue a show cause notice under section 73 or 70 or section 67 or 65 as well. He can proceed with any of these proceedings. He can order for an audit. He can order for determination. So we have seen a lot of notices of proceedings for 70 education proceedings are completed. And for 1819, we have seen the show cause notices, and now the adjudication is being carried out. However, the investigation part is completed now. Please appreciate that the investigation part is completed. For 1819, the last date to issue SCN was 31st January 2014. So the scrutiny only takes 30 days, should be completed before the issue of show cause notice. Any 30 days prior to the show cause notice. So if 31st January 2024 is the last date to issue show cause notice for financial year 1819, then the scrutiny proceedings, ASMT 10 notice, should come before 31st December 2023. Right? And then only the proceedings can be taken further. Right now, we are seeing all over India, notices are being issued in ASMT 10 for financial year 1920, because this is the time where investigation is going on for the financial year 1920. The assessment the department is doing for the financial year 1920. So, some of the major discrepancies that, based on the experience that we had so far, that we have seen, are differences in GSTR 2A and GSTR 3B return, GSTR differences in GSTR 1 and GSTR 3B return, credit notes, differences in EV bill and GSTR 1, then credit notes issued by the parties which are for which we have not reversed ITC. Tax has not been paid by the supplier. The GST registration has been cancelled of the supplier suo motu by the department. So these are some of the basic discrepancies which for which notices are being issued in ASMT 10. So I will just share a quick glimpse of how we can answer these discrepancies which are observed by the department. See, for GSTR 2A and GSTR 3B, say the credit appearing in GSTR 2A is 4 crore 10 lakh rupees, and the ITC that has been availed in GSTR 3B is say 4 crore 5 lakh rupees. Oh, sorry, 4 crore 15 lakh rupees. So 5 lakh extra ITC has been availed in GSTR 3B in comparison with GSTR 2A. So we have received a show cause notice for say financial year 17-18 or 18-19 in ASMT 10. So what are the things that we should check in this scrutiny notice, and how should we answer this notice? Any comment that comes to your mind, you can please write it down in the chat box quickly, and then let's see how we should answer such notices. There is no further anything provided in the notice. ASMT 10 just says that there is a difference observed. The discrepancy is 5 lakh extra ITC is availed in GSTR 3. Say it is for the financial year 18-19. So what are the grounds that we will take? Quickly, we can write down some of the grounds in the chat box. Okay, so let's take it further then. So firstly, we will check the jurisdiction. Uh, so I think Manak Chand Behati wants to say something. So let me just unmute him. Okay. Ganeshan ji, I will request you to please unmute Manak Chand Behati. Yeah.
Manak Chand ji, 1 second. Manak Chand ji,
Hello. Yeah.
you can speak now. Yeah.
You had told that 1 month before scrutiny of return should start. If there is a direct notice for 73 scrutiny, then it is not valid, no? For
Correct.
financial year
So,
18-19. Yeah.
I will
Financial year
appreciate this.
18-19. If
Yeah,
there is
I will
direct.
appreciate this, Manak Chand ji. You have raised a very right question here.
Yeah.
See, we have seen during these last 1 year or say 6 or 7 months that directly notices are being issued under Section 73.
Yeah.
Right? For a discrepancy in
By escaping that section 61 scrutiny. Yeah.
GST 2 and 3. By escaping the section. So we'll discuss later on as well during Section 73, during the adjudication proceedings, that for raising a show cause notice, the officer should have a reason to believe that any tax has been short paid or not paid. Without carrying on any investigation, whether this information has been supplied by some third party or some other investigation which has already been conducted by the department.
That he
Then
should
yes,
specify. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Then of course the Section 73 notice can be directly issued. Otherwise, in the normal circumstances, investigation proceedings should precede a notice under Section 73. So coming back to the, we will again take these issues, Bhetiji, during the webinar. I will come to this point 2 or 3 times in the webinar itself. Till the time we are not in agreement that how these proceedings should actually be conducted as per the law, rather than how they are being conducted now by the department. So coming back to my question, there is a difference in GSTR 2A and GSTR 3B, where the ITC in GSTR 3B has been availed in excess by amount of say 5 lakh rupees. So whether we should accept this demand for the financial year 18-19 or 19-20, or whether we should reject this demand. Please answer in yes or no in the chat box. No. Sweta, thank you, Sweta. She has said no. Satish ji says yes. Okay. Ganeshan is saying yes. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. MVS Rajan Rao. He said yes. So, dear friends, please appreciate that GSTR 2A was introduced with effect from 1st January 21. Correct. Before 1st January 21, sorry, 1st January 22. Before 1st January 22, there was no condition in the law. There was no condition in the law which mandates ITC should appear in GSTR 2A for availing credit. Shweta here says that we can take the circular 183, reference of circular 183. Yeah, very true, very true. Okay. Then the contemporary prevailing conditions that were there in section 16, which says that you should have a tax invoice, the tax should have been paid by the supplier, you should have received the goods, and you have filed the return. These are the mandatory conditions for availing ITC. So only a difference between GSTR 2A and GSTR 3B is not going to help the department. Please mind it that this difference is not going to help the department. See, department has here not alleged that the tax has not been paid by the supplier. We should not hurry. We should not hurry in getting ourselves into a defensive position. If there is any difference being observed, the sections 59 has given us a self-assessment power. And based on the valid invoices, we have made a payment through bank to the suppliers. We have availed ITC on valid invoices. It cannot be challenged by the department without having any evidence, just based on a difference in GSTR 2A and GSTR 3B, where GSTR 2A was not legally implemented till 1st January 22. In 9 October 2019, Rule 36(4) created a condition of 20% capping. 20% capping on the unmatched ITC. Then it was reduced to 10% on 1st January 20, then 5% on 1st January 21, and finally to 0 by 1st January 22 when the 2B conditions were removed. So please appreciate, when there is no allegation that the supplier has not paid any tax, even if there is a difference appearing in GSTR 2A and 3B, without first investigating whether the tax has been paid by the supplier or not, will it be correct to recover the amount from the recipient? Won't it be double taxation if the tax has already been paid by the supplier? GST Council, CBIC has on many occasions said that if there is any short payment of tax, if there is any non-payment of tax by the supplier, and the ITC is not appearing in GSTR 2A, then the tax shall be first recovered from the supplier, and only after the supplier fails to pay the tax and the recovery is nil, the department can approach the recipient for the recovery. So, in my opinion, for the financial year 17 18, 18 19, 19 20, and 2021 till 31st January 21, when the GSTR 2A or 2B condition was not promulgated in the law, just based on a difference between GSTR 2A and 3B, we should not rush in paying the taxes or defending ourselves. Firstly, we should ask the department whether they have investigated which are the supplies on which GSTR 1 has not been filed by the supplier, whether these suppliers have actually paid the tax or not, whether this has been investigated by the department, and whether the efforts has been made by the department to recover the tax from the suppliers first. Only then, only then the tax can be recovered from the recipient. See, there is a set process, there is a due process which has been prescribed in the law. And everyone, including the department, me, the taxpayer, we all the professionals, they are bound by this supreme law, the GST law, which has been framed, which has been already passed by the parliament. And we have to abide by that law. So when the GSTR 2A condition was not there in the law itself, then the department cannot start ipso facto with a demand of a difference between GSTR 2A and GSTR 3B. They have to first, this is a discrepancy. Yeah, this is correct that the department has observed a discrepancy. But now they have to investigate what are the supplies on which tax has not been, on which outward supply has not been declared by the supplier in GSTR 1, and whether the supplier has paid this tax or not. And after this, only the department can raise a demand. Okay. Yeah, of course, as pointed out by some of the participants, we can directly take the shelter of Circular 183, which has been given for our benefit here. And even Circular 183 says, identifies and confirms this, that GSTR 2A is not correct in all the cases. There are discrepancies during the first 3 or 4 years of implementation, where all the suppliers were not able to populate all the data in GSTR 1, due to which GSTR 2A is not showing the correct picture of the taxes paid. It might be possible, this Circular 183 and 193 has accepted this fact, that tax might have been paid by the supplier, even though it is not declared in GSTR 1 by him. So moving ahead, this was one of the major discrepancy which is being observed in the scrutiny notices. So my opinion is here again the same, that firstly, the department should have some evidences to impeach the self-assessment. It is not open for the department to just see any, to make any linear comparison in two data and just raise their demand, right? So we are again seeing that there is a difference in GSTR 1 and GSTR 3B. So again, I will like to ask the participants with me to kindly write in the chat box if there is a difference in GSTR 1 and GSTR 3B. Say the demand, the tax payable in GSTR 1 is 1 lakh rupees, and that which has been paid in GSTR 3B is only 80,000 rupees. So there is a shortfall in payment of say 20,000 rupees. So whether we should accept this liability or reject this liability, it has been corrected in the annual return. Annual return shows you the correct data. The taxpayer has paid, filed the annual return, and the annual return shows your correct data. What is your actual tax liability? So whether the discrepancy pointed out by the proper officer in ASMT 10 return, in ASMT 10, whether you should accept this or you should reject this. So we have received yes. We have received some participants are saying yes. Yeah. Okay. So again, we will first, yeah, first check the records. If it is rectified in the annual return, then we need not to pay the liability. Yes, of course, if it is already paid in the annual return, correct. So yeah, if there is a discrepancy in GSTR 1 and GSTR 3B, dear participants, kindly appreciate that there is a circular on scrutiny of returns, instruction number 2, 2022, and instruction number 2, 2023, which says that before issuing any notice under ASMT 10, the proper officer must ensure that if any payments are made via DRC 03, then he should take that into account. See, we all will appreciate this, that we have filed our annual returns, and if there are any errors in R1 or 3B, if any tax has been short paid in 3B and the liabilities are declared in GST R1, then we have corrected these errors in annual return. Yeah, we have to first analyze the records, we have to see the records. If any liability has not been paid, then we have to pay that liability, or otherwise we can say that these mistakes were identified at the time of the GST audit and they have been duly corrected in the annual return or reconciliation statement, and the due tax has been paid via DRC 03. The due tax has already been paid via DRC 03. Yes, of course, we have to pay interest on the short payment. If it has not been paid in DRC 03 earlier, we have to pay it right now. And yeah, that brings our end to this query as well. So these were most of the popular issues that has been pointed out by the proper officers in GSTR 1 and in the ASMT 10 returns. Another favorite uh, discrepancy for which mostly I have seen notices in ASMT 10 is with regard to EV bill. It is with regard to EV bill. So that we have seen various times that the notices come and it says that in EV bill you have uh, declared outward supplies, say amounting to rupees 1 crore rupees, where rather on the other hand in the GSTR 1 return you have only declared outward supplies of say 80 lakh rupees. So there is a shortfall of 20 lakh rupees in GSTR 1. EV bill which has been generated by the taxpayer are of 1 crore rupees, and the GSTR 1 and GSTR 3B in which tax has been paid is of only 80 lakh rupees. So there is a shortfall of 20 lakh rupees, and why should not tax be levied on this 20 lakh rupees and recovered from you with interest? So again, what would be your take on this discrepancy? Whether you would like to accept it, reject it, what will be your take, sir? So here, Vinislva Kumar would like to say something. I will again request Ganeshan ji to kindly unmute him.
Yes, sir, sure.
So comparison is to be done. Invoice not cancelled. Okay, rejected, rejected. Yeah, very nice. Thank you. Yeah, please.
Sir, you can unmute at your end.
Okay, I can do this.
No, the participant.
Okay, participant can.
Anthony, sir.
So Bhaskaran ji is saying job work. Satish ji is saying comparison of actual bill and EV bill rejected. Okay.
Anthony, sir, you can unmute your yourself.
Okay, so most of the participants are of the view that we should not accept this liability, and we should reject it, and we can compare our records for the discrepancy observed. Again, here, see, I will like to take again the view that I have taken in the first discrepancy, where there was a difference in GSTR 2A and 3B. See, a linear comparison between 2A and 3B data, or e-way bill and your outward supplies data, doesn't give any picture at all. You cannot compare because they are e-way bill is for movement of the goods. Please appreciate. And GSTR1 is for your tax outward liabilities, right? So e-way bill is generated for job work. E-way bill is generated for reasons for outward supplies for reasons other than taxable supply. Uh, there might be movement between distinct persons, sorry, within the same GSTM, within the same state, not between the distinct persons, within the same state, from the warehouse, from the factory to the godown or warehouse, uh, movement on challan. So, firstly, one has to bifurcate all these items. And even after that, there might be cancellations. There might be cases where EV bill was generated. However, the supply actually doesn't take place because there was no movement of goods at all. However, the EV bill was generated. So, just for this reason that there is a difference between EV bill and GSTR1, this doesn't help the case of the department. Department has to investigate further. What are these supplies? What are these actual EV bills on which GSTR1 has not been generated? And after identifying these supplies only, after doing the further investigation on this matter, only they can raise a demand on this, or they can raise a discrepancy on this. There might be a number of reasons, right? So this is what happens is the department is shifting the liability which has been passed by the GST law on the proper officers to the taxpayer. And instead of doing the reconciliation on their own, what they have done, they have just seen that total EV bill has been generated for say 1 crore rupees and outward supplies are 80 lakh rupees. They are not bothered. What are the reasons for these differences? They will ask the taxpayer to deposit 20 lakh rupees. So things are not going to work in this fashion until and unless it is the case is further investigated. Evidences are available with the department that yeah, these are the 6 EV bills for which invoice has not been generated. Only then the case of the department can move forward. So again, in these cases, I will recommend see the for small taxpayers, it will be an easy job to compare EV bill with GSTR1. However, for a big taxpayer whose say invoices are generated in hundreds in a day, it will be a very difficult job to do this linear comparison one by one. That too when it was not uh, pictured earlier in the law. See, the only purpose of EV bill was to curb tax evasion. It was only to curb tax evasion when there was a movement of goods, and the department wanted that the tax invoice should be generated for the movement of goods. If it is observed at a later stage, say at the point of audit, that EV bill has not been generated by the taxpayer, then can section 122, 129 can be invoked at the time of audit? Say yes or no. Can the detention proceedings be initiated at the time of the audit? The purpose of EV bill was only for the movement of the goods. And once the movement has been completed, even if even if EV bill was not generated, whether the ITC can be denied to the recipient? No, of course, Rahul. Correct? No. Because section 16 is a complete code in itself. Again, section 129 is a complete code in itself. These both are complete code in itself. So if EV bill has not been generated, then it is only for the purpose of the movement of the goods. And any discrepancy which is observed in EV bill is for the movement of the goods only. And section 129 is provided specifically for this purpose. Now it is not open for the department to use it for a comparison purposes with the GSTR1 return. So again, my approach for this discrepancy will be to ask the department if they have any evidences with them, which contraventions are there of the law in this present case. If we are unable to generate EV bill, or EV bill has been generated in excess, yeah, department can ask queries for specific cases, of course, but a general comparison, a linear clear comparison between the two figures is not correct. It is completely incorrect. It is not apple to apple comparison. Such an comparison is wrong and not as per the provisions of the law. Now, again, coming back to our topic for the day, that is scrutiny of the returns, section 61, rule 99. So whether it is open to the proper officer to do scrutiny of the taxpayer, of any taxpayer? No, there is a preset criteria, and every state has their pre-established criteria, based on which, on test basis, they identify the taxpayers for which scrutiny shall be done. So again, this brings us back to section 59, self-assessment. GST law has been framed in a fashion that it trusts the taxpayer, and section 59 is one of the most powerful and beautiful section of the GST law, which gives you the power of self-assessment, and it can be checked by the department, by scrutiny, by audit, or by search, but it cannot be impeached without any evidences. Okay. So moving ahead, any questions till now, I will be happy to answer, or otherwise we will move ahead to our next topic for the day. So this we have already discussed, that section 61 is read with rule 99. Rule 99 provides ASMT 10 for intimating the discrepancies which has been observed in the return. The discrepancies should be informed for a financial year in a single go. There should be minimal interaction with the taxpayer before issuing the SMT 10 notice. Okay. It is not open for the department here to simply, in most of the cases, this is what is being done, and we should strongly oppose this. To simply point out some differences in R1 and 3B, or EV bill or R1, or 2A and 3B, without doing any further investigation. There is a duty being cast upon by the GST law on the proper officer to investigate, to scrutinize the returns, to verify their correctness, and to form an opinion. And based on these evidences only, they should proceed further. So we can in SMT 11 we can give a reply. We can give a reply to the proper officer. Venezuela Kumar, I will request to kindly unmute yourself. You can unmute yourself, or Ganeshan, if you can unmute him.
Yes, sir.
And
Silva sir, you can unmute. No, here it is there.
yeah, then in ASMT 12 there is a order of acceptance of reply against the notice.
Santanu ji, you also can unmute and speak.
Okay, then 61(3) based on the replies submitted by the department. I think Ganeshan ji, they are not able to unmute themselves.
Actually, the rights has been given to them. If I am unable to do actually.
So you are not able to.
Yeah, yeah. So they have to unmute at their end. I think
Yeah.
Santanu is able to speak now. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
In
Yes, Santosh, please, please tell me.
ASMT 10, what kind of data officer can be asked? Only difference between the 3B GST or one, or anything, suppose trial balance and stock reports and many things they asked right now. They
See,
can.
that's what I'm saying, Santunuji. Uh, for trial balance and all these balance sheet, there is a separate section, section 65. We will just go to that section, which has been prescribed in the law. See, this is a very new law, and even the department is unaware of their powers. You know? And at times they are misusing their power, or they are using it under the incorrect sections. Correct. So for scrutiny of the returns, the limitation is only to the returns that has been filed by the taxpayer, the data which is available with the proper officer on the common portal, whether it is the balance sheet, it is the profit and loss account attached with the reconciliation statement, your annual return, your GSTR 1 and your GSTR 3B, and e-way bill, GSTR 2A, or any other information that has been received by the department from the data analytics team. So, and where there is a selection of the taxpayer based on the pre-established criteria. After the selection, after scrutinizing the return, whatsoever discrepancies which are unanswered are observed by the department, they can raise those discrepancies in ASMT 10. It is not open for the department to issue ASMT 10 and ask for balance sheet, or sorry, ask for trial balance or cash flow statement or any other documents from the taxpayer. That is not within the powers of section 61 read with rule 99. So I think I am able to answer your query, Santanuji.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Hello,
Yes.
sir. This is Rangaro sir from.
Yeah.
Sir, my query is towards uh, ASMT 11 and ASMT 12. Uh, is there any time bound for the department to issue an order towards ASMT 12 after we submission of ASMT 11?
Okay. Okay. So normal time that has been prescribed in the law is 30 days. Uh, Within 30 days, the officer shall issue an order. I will just read this section for you. In case no satisfactory explanation is furnished within a period of 30 days of being informed by the proper officer, or such further period as may be permitted by him, the registered person, after accepting the decision, fails to take any the person may initiate appropriate action, including those under section 73 or 74. So basically, there is no as such time limit which has been prescribed under section 61. However, if the officer wants to take any action under section 73 or section 74, then he has to take it within the time frames which has been prescribed under the GST law under section 73. Correct? That is within 5 years from the date of filing of the annual return. Normal time period that has been prescribed is 30 days. However, it can be extended by the proper officer. Okay. So moving ahead, section 61, subsection 3, it empowers the proper officer to initiate proceedings under section 65, 66, 67, 73, or 74 if the discrepancies observed are not answered by the taxpayer. The proper officer, which has been prescribed in the GST law, is superintendent of central tax for issuing scrutiny notice. In case of states, most of the states have their own notifications and own officers for issuing ASMT 10 notices. So moving ahead, so coming to section 65, that is audit. See, scrutiny was the scope of scrutiny was limited only to the returns that has been filed by the taxpayer. However, Section 65, one of my friend here was asking me question whether trial balance can be asked by the proper officer. Now, yes, under Section 65, he has wide powers to ask for any documents from you. He has access to your business. Even under Section 61, after observing the discrepancies, even under Section 61, after observing the discrepancies, he can ask for any documents in support of the discrepancy. Okay. Yeah, that can be done. So we have to be very careful. We have to be very tactful and careful while giving our replies to the show cause notices. It might be the case that the department doesn't have any evidences on their record or on the portal. However, we, because of our ignorance or excitedness, we might serve them one, right? So we should take care which information we should provide to the uh, proper officers. Okay, we should be very careful not to give them evidences against us, which can be used by them in the adjudication. So yeah, Shweta, you wanted to ask me something? Please go ahead.
Am I audible, sir?
Yeah.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, I just wanted to ask you one specific reason for the difference between the ISD distributed by the input distributed by the ISD, and there's a difference between the 2A as per the 2A and the ITC claimed by the assessee, for which the ISD has reported in the 2A the amount, the ITC. So I just wanted to know how can we reply on that, because there's this notice for the difference between the same.
Okay, so the I will just try to reframe the query.
Yeah.
So the ISD has the credit of ISD is not available in GSTR 2A. Say it is for
Correct.
financial year 18-19.
1819, correct.
Okay, so the ITC is not available in 2A, and the recipient is being asked to show cause the reasons, right? This
Correct,
is
correct. So they have claimed more ISD input in 3B as compared to what is reflected in 2A.
correct, correct. So again, my take will be the same, Shweta. See, the tax has already been paid by the supplier, correct?
Correct,
And GSTR 2A in any case was not applicable at that
correct,
point of time, and there were a lot of technical difficulties being faced by the taxpayers.
correct.
So, if the department insists in this case for payment of tax again or reversal of ITC, won't it be double taxation?
Correct, sir. But there's this problem that there was this procedural lapse by at the end of the ISD. So the assessee had the ISD registration as well and the normal registration. So from the ISD registration, they were unable, they did not file the GSTR 6, but they claimed the input. But afterwards, they filed the return. But they so that is the reason that it was not reflected in 2A. Basically, they have not filed the GSTR 6.
They have late filed it, right?
Yes, yes,
They have filed it late, no?
correct.
But the ITC has been availed within the time limits of Section 16, subsection.
Yes, yes, sir.
Correct. Yeah, so there is no legal lapse in this present case.
Correct. Procedural lapse was there.
Yeah, there is no legal lapse. The ITC can be availed. However, it will be challenged by the adjudicating authority. They won't accept your law, and you will get relief at the first appellate authority, I think.
Correct, sir. We are also filing the appeal for the same.
Yeah, you will get at the first appellate authority itself. You will get the relief.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So moving ahead, we all know what audit is. So I will just skip the definition of audit. Here, I would just like to point out one thing, that apart from turnover, taxes, refund, and ITC reconciliation, if there is any non-compliance of any of the provisions of the GST law also, that also comes within the purview of audit. Okay. So
Yelumala sir, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah.
good afternoon.
Sir, what are the major descriptions in audit, sir? Audit point of view.
Yeah, we will just discuss that. We are about to discuss the audit topic now. We will
Okay.
see what are the queries being raised by the department in the audit, or if you have any specific queries that we will take. Okay, if the time allows, if the time permits. Yeah. So coming to audit now. Again, audit by tax authorities under section 61, read with rule 101. It is on the order of the commissioner, either a general order or a specific order. It is on a pre-established criteria. There can be a frequency which can be prescribed for the audit, and the period can also be prescribed. Audit can be conducted from the business premises of the taxpayer or from the office of the proper officer. Normally, ADT 01 notice is issued to the auditee for providing the books of accounts, right? And a 15 days minimum period is prescribed in the law for providing the time for ADT 01. Then the audit shall be completed within a period of 3 months. So here what we are seeing is in the scrutiny also we have seen a 30 days time limit was there, which can be further extended by the proper officer. Again, there is a time limit of 3 months here. This is more stringent time limit which has been prescribed in the audit, which can be again extended up to a maximum period of 6 months on recording reasons in writing and taking a permission from the commissioner in this regard. Yeah. So this 3 month is from the commencement of the audit. The commencement is the date on which you have provided your books of accounts, or on the date on which the tax officers come for verification at your place, later of any of these two. So you have to complete your audit and provide a final audit report within 30 days of the completion of the audit. Okay, so 3 months plus 30 days for the final audit report. You have to consider all the replies. The proper officer has to consider all the replies which has been submitted by the taxpayer while drafting the final audit report. Okay, so based on this final audit report's findings, again, a show cause notice can be issued under section 73 or section 74. The period of audit can be a single financial year or more than one financial year as well. Okay, so this is what our audit section 65 101 and the forms looks like. So ADT 01 is the notice, ASMT 10 was the notice in scrutiny, ADT 01 is the notice for undertaking the audit. The audit can be undertaken by the assistant commissioner or the deputy commissioner of central tax. In states, different powers has been assigned to different officers as per the state notifications. For scrutiny, we have seen that the superintendent was the proper officer who was authorized under the law. So we must check the authority, the jurisdiction of the officer issuing the ADT 01 as well. At times, we have seen that the superintendent or inspector had issued ADT 01 notice, which is wrong, or they have issued the final audit report in form ADT 02, which is also wrong. Only the assistant commissioner or deputy commissioner are empowered under the law to issue these forms. Okay. Then we can after ADT 01, there will be conduct of audit, which has been prescribed as 3 months plus 6 months. Then there will be communication of audit findings, which we call as the draft audit report. And finally, based on the replies that has been submitted by the taxpayer, a final audit report will be issued in ADT 02 within 30 days of completion of the audit. Okay, and based on the findings of the audit in the final audit report, superintendent is empowered to issue a notice under section 73 or section 74. So the adjudication in this case, based on the various circulars of the departments and notifications, can be done by the audit team as well, or by the jurisdiction officer as well. This is again area based, geography based, where different modes are being taken by the department for different taxpayers. Okay. Okay, so there is another section which helps the scrutiny and audit under section 65, that is section 71, access to business premises. So records, trial balance, statement of financial statements, audit report, income tax audit report, all these documents can be asked by the proper officer during the scrutiny or during the audit or during the search proceedings, and the taxpayer is obliged to submit them within the period of 15 days. Draft audit report is submitted by the department for the various discrepancies, for the various audit points, various observations, and to provide the reasons for these uh, differences or these uh, observations. Then within 30 days, ADT02, and it shall be issued electronically as well after the approval of the committee. ADT02 final audit report. So we have a All India GST Manual 2023 as well, more wherein various points are already being prescribed for the help of the GST officers. The proper officers for recovery of section 73 and 74 are prescribed in circular number 33/2017, read with circular number 35 and 05/2018. There are monetary limits which has been prescribed in this circular for issuing various notices under section 73 or section 74. So before taking up a notice under section 73 or 74, it is better to see whether the jurisdiction has been exercised correctly by the proper officer or not. So is my screen visible, or I have stopped sharing?
Sir, stop sharing. Now you are
Okay.
visible, sir. Yeah.
Okay, let me again share the window then. So moving ahead, most of the observations that the proper officers see in case of audit are same. What we have seen are same as that in the case of scrutiny.
Your
So
PPT is visible, sir. Yeah.
yeah. So moving ahead, I have something that I would like to first discuss with the participants here. That is about section 73 or 74. So till now, what we have discussed is there is an investigation proceeding or inquiry proceeding in which the department collects various evidences to finally assess the tax of the taxpayer. And it is in the section 73 or section 74 that the demand is ascertained or the assessment is done. So a show cause notice under section 73 brings an end. It gives a full stop to the investigation or scrutiny proceedings. So the department cannot produce any new evidence, any further evidence after section 73 notice has been issued, until and unless we provide them with these new evidences in our replies. Okay, kindly appreciate this point. So moving ahead, coming to section 73 and section 74, determination of tax. So adjudication proceedings under section 73 can be initiated if the proper officer has reasons to believe that any tax has not been paid, has been short paid, or erroneously refunded, or input tax credit has been availed and utilized in excess for reasons other than fraud, willful misstatement, or suppression of facts. So if we will read section 73, it starts with where it appears to the proper officer. It is not it is not something that if there is a difference in 2A and 3B that a proper officer can directly proceed with section 73. He should first gather the evidences in the investigation proceedings under section 61 or section 65. And based on these evidences on record, when he is of the opinion, he should have reasons to believe that the tax has been short paid or not paid, or ITC has been availed in excess, or refund has been erroneously provided for reasons other than fraud, only then a notice under section 73 can be issued, not otherwise. So for proceeding under section 73, the act has provided pre-notice consultation. Before issuing a notice under section 73, pre-notice consultation is required to be done by the proper officer in DRC 01A, Rule 142. It provides that if the proper officer thinks that a pre-notice consultation consultation notice shall be issued, then he should provide a DRC 01A notice before finally proceeding with the section 73 demand. Section 73 demand shall be served electronically. SCN shall be served electronically in form DRC 01, right? And if there are same grounds on which for any further period a demand is required to be raised, then the proper officer can use form DRC 02 and a statement can be provided on the same grounds along with the DRC 02 for the remaining periods demand. Okay. So moving ahead, section 74, there is only one difference in section 74. If the reason of short payment of tax is due to fraud, willful misstatement, or suppression of facts, if there is a mens rea, in that cases, section 74 demand can be raised. So is there anything that Tax Plus would like to ask here?
Hello.
Yeah.
Sir, 1718 notice issued on 2nd February 2024 under section 65.
My goodness. So here my dear friend from Tax Plus is saying that for 1718 ADT 01 is issued on 2nd of February 24. So what do you think? What is your opinion? Whether this ADT 01 is correct? Whether it is within the time limit specified in the GST law or not?
Time limit is...
No. I would like to ask the other participants whether it is correct or not.
I think wrong.
Let's hear from other participants as well also. Wrong, not correct, not correct, not. Yeah, see, again, now we will come back to the very basics, sir, here. See, section 61 and section 65. They are routine sections, the assessment powers given to the officers by the GST law to check, to keep a check on the self-assessed tax liability. And section 67 is for search and raid when there are reasons to believe, by the proper officer has reasons to believe that any tax has been evaded. The taxpayer has evaded any tax. Then he can come to your place by a warrant under section 67(1) or 2. So normally section 67, please appreciate this, section 67 will only lead to section 74. Again, I would like to ask the participants here, is it possible that during the raid, the taxpayer observes that there were certain discrepancies, and based on those discrepancies, they issue a notice under section 73 for tax short paid or not paid? Is it correct or incorrect? The underlying proceedings were under section 67, and then the department found that there were certain discrepancies, and a notice is issued under Section 73. Whether such proceedings are correct or not. Shweta says no. Anyone else? Satish says yes. Okay. So, my dear friends, kindly appreciate. Rangaroy says no. Okay. Please appreciate. The department has already picked up from the baskets. Yeah, there are 61, 65, 67 various investigation tools are available with the department. And they have already picked up one of the tools, that is Section 67, which says that the taxpayer has, with the intention to evade tax, they have committed something. And to further investigate, they want to use the powers, the unlimited powers of Section 67. Now, it is not correct on the part of the department to issue a notice under Section 73, which says that there was no intention to evade tax. This means your earlier choice that Section 67 was wrong. So Section 67 proceedings will not lead to Section 73. They will only lead to Section 74. It will be incorrect, absolutely incorrect on the part of the department to firstly raid on somebody's unit and then issue a notice under Section 73. This means you were wrong earlier. Correct. Now, coming back to the question, if the time limit has already been expired for issue of notice under Section 73 and the routine assessments has already been completed, then what is the need to conduct the audit? That has to be ascertained. Whether the department has sufficient evidences on record to prove that there is evasion of tax for which they want to go for a special audit or audit by tax authorities under Section 67 or 65, 65 or 66. Only in those cases, recourse can be made to Section 65, not otherwise. Not in the general case, and only in exceptional circumstances this can be done. So I don't think this ADT 01 is correct in the present circumstances. Any other point that you would like to raise, sir?
Sir, hello.
Yeah.
But state office judicial officers told me this is not possible. But notice issued central GST.
This is incorrect. This is incorrect. Kindly write it down to the officer that this is beyond jurisdiction. The time limit for issue of notice under Section 73 has already expired, and now it is not permissible to conduct the audit of the taxpayer under the GST law.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yep. So, yeah, Shweta, please tell me.
Sir, one question. Is ASMT 10 necessary for passing order under Section 73?
Yeah. See, there should be some underlying proceedings. The evidences cannot come up on their own, right? So there
Correct.
should be some underlying proceedings, whether it is Section 65, Section 61, or a intel is available with the department from some sources, based on which they have made an opinion that the tax has been evaded. Otherwise, directly proceeding with Section 73 without any underlying proceedings is incorrect.
So, sir, what has happened is that the officer has first raised the ASMT 10. In that, the grounds were totally different from what the order was passed under Section 73. So, can this be formed as a ground to file an appeal and in the CIT appeal?
See. Here again, we have to be very tactful, Shweta. That's what I was discussing. That in ASMT 10, say there were 3 discrepancies which were observed by the proper officer.
Correct.
And we have provided them with the information or with the documents to answer the discrepancies which were observed. Now, during this investigation process, if the adjudication or the investigation officer finds out some other discrepancies and he forms an opinion on them that the tax has not been paid on these discrepancies, then of course he can issue a notice under section 73
So for filing a reply,
based on those
yes, sir.
evidences, based on those evidences. But once this section 73 notice has been issued on certain grounds, correct? Once
Correct.
this section 73 notice has been issued on certain grounds, now it is not open because now the investigation has been completed. Earlier, the investigation was still going on.
Correct.
And any discrepancy, even if it is not covered with the ASFT 10, if it is identified at a later stage, section 73 notice can be given by the department at any time. But once this section 73 notice has been given, now the evidences are freezed. Now the
Correct.
grounds of the notice are freezed. Now it is not open for the department to issue an order on grounds other than the SCM.
Okay.
Okay.
So, sir,
I
if
think
we
to
go
answer
into the appeal, yes, sir. Sir, the answer is you have answered the question. So another question is that if I go into the appeal, then I'll be like taking the cases which has been mentioned in the order itself, not in the ASMT. Do not have to go through the ASMT 10. We do not have to, correct?
you need not to go with the SMT 10. However, you must see the SCN. The SCN should cover all the points that has been raised in the order.
Okay.
Order cannot go beyond the SCN. If the SCN has alleged a demand of say 1 crore rupees, then order can be passed for a maximum of 1 crore rupees only on the
DRC
ground.
01. Correct.
DRC 01. Only on the grounds
DRC.
it has been raised in the SCN. However,
Okay, sir. Thank you
ASMT
so
10
much.
can be on different grounds. That,
Okay.
that can be possible. That can be possible, of course.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Shweta. So moving ahead, we all know that after determination of tax, if the taxpayer has failed to self-assess himself correctly, then under section 73 and 74, certain penalty provisions are being prescribed. So I will quickly brief up the penalty provisions which has been prescribed in section 73 and 74. So Ganeshan, do we have some more time or the time has been already completed by me?
Yeah, given time is completed, but you can continue, sir.
Okay, Ganeshan.
Yeah,
Thank you,
yeah,
thank you.
yeah.
So I will be quick. Section 73 and 74 penalty, if before the issue of SCN, taxpayer pays all his tax along with interest. Please mind, tax along with interest. Then the penalty under section 73 will not be levied. There will not be any penalty under section 73. However, if the case is with regard to fraud or willful misstatement, in that case, 15% of the tax evaded will be paid as penalty, even if before the show cause notice. Okay. Then if within the 30 days of issue of show cause notice, tax is paid along with interest, again under section 73, there will be no penalty. However, in case of section 74, it will go up to 25% of the tax amount evaded. Okay, within up to 30 days from the SCN. And if even if the SCN is issued and the order has been passed by the adjudicating authority, then if the tax along with interest is paid within 30 days of the order, then 50% penalty shall be paid in case of section 74 and 10% of the penalty in case of section 73 or 10,000 rupees, whichever is higher in case of section 73. And after 30 days, 10% penalty, about 10,000 rupees under section 73 and 100% penalty in case of section 74. So please appreciate that the maximum penalty that is applicable under section 73 is 10% or 10,000 rupees, whichever is higher. And it is applicable only after communication of the order under section 73, 30 days after the order communication. Before that, if within 30 days of the show cause notice it is paid, then there will be no penalty. And if within 30 days, then also 10%. After the issue of order, 10% penalty will be levied under section 73. And if before issue of order the tax is paid, then there will be no penalty if 30 days show cause notice has passed only. And in section 74, 100% penalty can be levied on the taxpayer. And there are different stages, 15, 25, 50, and 100%, which has been prescribed in the law. So the participants can, I can share the PPT with the with Ganeshan ji, and he can share it with you, right?
Sure, sir. Sure.
Yeah. So there are certain, these are the certain time limits under section 73. I think most of the participants must be aware that section 73 notice cannot be issued for financial year 17-18 and 18-19. No show cause notice can be issued now. However, for 19-20, show cause notices can be issued, and for 18-19, orders can be passed. Adjudication is being carried out by the department. Investigation has already been completed for financial year 18-19. So again, one must have these timelines available with them quickly for ready reference. So moving ahead, these are the section 74 timelines for financial year 17-18. Even now, a notice can be issued under section 74 for financial year 17-18. So SCN gives an opportunity to the department of leading evidence in support of its allegation, and equally gives an opportunity to taxpayer to make representation and adduce evidence against the allegations or charges made out against him. So this is the opportunity which has been provided under the law by issue of show cause notice. Yeah, so these are some of the important points which shall be there in the show cause notice. Firstly, the show cause notice should be preceded by an inquiry or investigation where the allegations shall be ascertained and the reasons to believe shall be formed. So there might be some enforcement proceedings, scrutiny or audit or search, due to which a notice comes into picture under section 73 or section 74. Now, it is very much necessary under section 73 or 74 notice that the cause of action, what are the violations of the law for which this allegation is made. For a difference in GSTR 2A and 3B, please appreciate there is no cause of action to be provided in the show cause notice unless it is supported by 16 subsection 2 clause C, non-payment of tax by the supplier. Unless it is supported by cause of action, violation of the provisions of the law, section 16 subsection 2 clause C. Without a cause of action, there is no demand. The show cause notice is not valid. It doesn't have the essential elements of the show cause notice to make a valid demand to go ahead. Relied upon documents. If search on a third party or any other document which is the basis of demand under section 73, then this relied upon document must be annexed along with the show cause notice. Without this relied upon document, the show cause notice is incomplete, incoherent, and vague. Even in one of the recent cases, the High Court has held that the date of delivery of the relied upon document will be considered the date of service of the SCM. Till 15th October 2020, pre-notice consultation was mandatory. DRC 01A was mandatory. However, later on, the act was amended and it was made recommendatory for the part of the department. It is mandatory for the tax officers to issue DRC 01 because the due process has been prescribed in the law, and that must be adhered by the department and the taxpayer. So notice under section 73 or 74, it must come electronically. Now, again, I would like to ask the audience, say, for financial year 17-18, there was some short payment of tax, say amount 5 lakh rupees was short paid by the taxpayer. The taxpayer identified this discrepancy during the annual return, and he discharged his 5 lakh rupees tax liability at the time of annual return. However, no penalty or interest was paid by the taxpayer. So the department has now issued a notice under Section 73 for levy of 10% of the penalty on self-assessed tax which has been paid after a period of 30 days. There is a provision in Section 75 which says if the self-tax assess is not paid, which has been assessed in the STR1 return, or self-assessed tax has not been paid within a period of 30 days, then 10% penalty shall be levied. So now the department has issued a show cause notice under Section 73 alleging for the payment of this 10% of penalty, and they have asked for the payment of interest under Section 73. So, my dear friends, please answer whether this show cause notice is correct or incorrect. What is your take on this? Correct. Mr. Rahul says it is correct. Okay, correct. Mr. Vijay says correct. Tax Plus says correct. Satish correct. Okay. Sweta is saying incorrect. Okay. Rangaroy he says incorrect. Santanu Bhattacharya not correct. Very nice. Very nice. So incorrect. Okay. Okay. So I would like to hear from the participants. Anyone amongst you who would like to answer why is this incorrect? You can kindly unmute yourself and tell me why is it this incorrect?
Because it is date is now 1718. We can't right now. We cannot be any notice should become.
Correct. Right. Okay. And what if this notice was for the financial year 2021? What will be your take if this was for the financial year 2021? Okay, so let me just answer this query. So say for interest, there is a separate section which says that interest can be recovered even without issue of show cause notice. So there is no time limit applicable on the interest as such. However, for recovery of penalty under Section 73, there are time limits prescribed which must be strictly adhered. But there is one more thing. There are only 5 actionable causes which has been prescribed under Section 73, for which a notice under Section 73 can be issued, where any tax has been short paid, not paid, refund erroneously made, or ITC has been availed in excess. Only on those cases a Section 73 or 74 notice can be issued. Only penalty notice under Section 73 in itself is incorrect, is not valid. There are separate sections, Section 122, general penalty under Section 125, which has been prescribed for this purpose. Here, Section 73 or 74 notice only for penalty is not within the 5 actionable causes which has been prescribed in the Section 73 and 74 itself. So it will be incorrect. So moving ahead, I have already taken up all the elements that must be there in a show cause notice. Now coming to the adjudication order. So these are some of the important elements which we must check that the adjudication order is able to answer or not, it contains or not. Otherwise, this adjudication order will not stand the judicial scrutiny. So the first thing, the order must be speaking order. It must be a reasoned order. Section 75, subsection 6. Section 75 provides the general principles for adjudication. It says that the relevant facts and the basis of the decision on which the demand has been ascertained must be pointed out in the order. 75 subsection 4 says that the opportunity of hearing must be granted, even if not requested, where a adverse decision is made by the proper officer. Now, here you will appreciate section 75 subsection 7. This can be one of the defense that can be taken by you as well, Shweta. Here, section 75 subsection 7 mandates
Yes, sir.
that show cause notice and order, they should be on the same grounds. Order
Correct.
cannot travel beyond the show cause notice. So section 75 subsection 7 comes to our rescue here.
Noted, sir.
Yeah. Then section 75 subsection 9 is the section where interest on short payment of tax can be recovered. Again, we have seen that in various cases, department had levied initially penalty under section 73 or 74 and also penalty under section 122. So section 65 bars such imposition of penalty. If a penalty has been imposed under section 73 or 74, on the same act, penalty cannot be imposed again under any other provisions of this law. Now, even if what will happen now, say if there was a time barred show cause notice and the taxpayer has already acted upon on that show cause notice and he has furnished a reply, then section 73 time limit will not come to your rescue. Section 160 subsection 2 says that if even for a wrong notice or wrong order, if the person has already acted upon on that notice, then it will be deemed that such proceedings were correct. Again, one very important thing that we must remember is there is a specific time gap which has been prescribed in the law for issue of show cause notice and issue of order thereafter. So what is this time gap which has been prescribed under section 73? How much time gap should be there? Please write in the chat box quickly. Section 73 says that after before issue of the order under section 73, minimum time that must be adhered by the proper officer for issue of show cause notice. Only after that a final order can be issued. It is 3 months. Only after issue of show cause notice, minimum 3 months of time gap should be there in issue of order under section 73, and for 74 it is 6 months. So in various occasions we have seen due to lack of time and because for 17, 18, 31st December 23 was the last date to issue order. So we have seen that in the last month of November there were certain show cause notices issued under section 73. However, the time limit for issuing a notice under section 73, which was 30th September 23, had already lapsed, and these notices were time barred, and so is the order. Both are void ab initio. Yes, please. You wanted to ask me something?
Yes, sir. Sir, the date of service will be considered as when the assessing officer has uploaded the order on the portal, or it will be as communicated on the email, because most of the cases the assessing officer is uploading the notices and the orders on the portal but without communicating it on the email ID as of the authorized person.
Correct. See, as per GST law, the service of the notice online on the GST portal is a valid service. However,
sir.
various courts have held that if the order is not actually read by the taxpayer, then the relief is provided to them in those cases. So we
So,
can
sir,
take
how they will determine this that the assessee has read
the
the.
delay is condoned. The delay is condoned if the order is served only online and the pledge is taken that we were unaware of any such order or notice on the GST portal. In
Okay,
that case,
okay,
the delay is condoned and fresh adjudication proceedings are ordered by the court in most of the cases. However,
okay,
it
sir.
is a valid service as per the GST law is concerned. So moving
Thank.
ahead, yeah, one of the very important thing that we must keep in mind, that is burden of proof during the adjudication proceedings. Section 155, if we all have seen, that section 155 places a responsibility on the taxpayer for the ITC that has been availed by him to prove that the burden of proof is on the taxpayer to prove that the ITC availed is correct. So in the recent judgment of Ecom Gill, even the Supreme Court has held that it is the duty of the taxpayer to prove the genuineness of the transaction, because the burden of proof is on the taxpayer. For all other cases, for all other grounds matters, the duty is on the department or the person who is making the allegations to prove that these allegations are correct. So they have to provide the evidences for the allegations. So it is not open to the department to just raise any difference or any mismatches until they have discharged their burden of proof to prove that the allegations are correct. Now, if we claim any exemption or any benefit under the law, then again it is the duty of the taxpayer to establish, to prove the burden of proof, the onus of proof lies on the department, on the taxpayer to prove that this exemption is correct. Okay. So here I have pointed out some of the Evidence Act, Indian Evidence Act burden of proof principles. You can kindly take a note of them. So I think I have well exceeded my given time frame. Thank you for your patient listening and making this session very interactive session for me. Any queries, I will be happy to answer. Over to you, Ganeshan ji. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for this such a wonderful interactive session. I hope all attendees have enjoyed the session. Most of the queries are solved during the session. It made the session very interesting. And if more questions are there, please unmute yourself and ask the query, participants. And if you want to write in the chat box, that also is welcome. So before we receive any queries, sir, I have one uh, uh, suggestion requested expected from you, that taxpayer normally gets panicked when a notice is received, okay, from the department. So how to go about it, and what are the strategy we have to apply? So a quick guide to the participant with respect to the notice and
Yes.
how to go about it.
Yes, Ganeshan. So basically, this will summarize all of my uh, presentation that I have just made. So based on the various points that we have just discussed, first thing that we should check is the jurisdiction. Circular 3.3 points out the monetary limits for issuing show cause notice by the proper officer. So whether it is within the jurisdiction of the proper officer, firstly we should check this jurisdiction. I have seen various cases where the notice was issued by the superintendent for an amount of 60 lakh of tax evasion, whereas the power of the superintendent is only up to 10 lakh rupees. So the notice is itself void ab initio. Correct. Of course, this case, the department will again issue a notice to you with the correct jurisdiction. So we must check the case on merits as well. However, these non-compliances should not be should not be ignored as well. So firstly, we should check the jurisdiction, the time limit, what are the underlying proceedings, what is the allegation. We should clearly spell out the allegations. What are the evidences? What are the evidences available with the department for the allegation? Based on what grounds these allegations are levied? Is it only GST 2A or 3B? Or there are some other grounds as well with the department? What is the contravention of the law? What is the contravention of the law which has been pointed out in the adjudication proceedings? The cause of action should be very clear. And after ascertaining all these points, we should very tactfully answer the show cause notice without giving them any further evidences in support of their claim, in support of their allegations. At times, we have seen that the taxpayer himself gives all the evidences to the department in hurry to prove themselves as innocent. So we should not commit this mistake. We should answer only to the point, what are the cause of actions? And if the department has alleged that the tax has not been paid by the supplier, then we should take the rescue of Circular 183. If the department has not alleged that the tax has not been paid by the supplier, the contravention under section 16 has not been provided, then there is no point. There is no point in giving the department the ready-made information of the suppliers which have not filed GSTR1 return and the amount is not available in GSTR2A. Okay. So firstly, our approach should be, we should ask the department if there is any mismatch, then this prima facie or ipso facto at the very first instance doesn't give any right to the department to recover this amount or reverse this ITC. The department shall first investigate the matter. They should identify who are those suppliers, and only after that, this investigation, they can raise the demand. Right? Similarly is the case with e-way bill. In most of the cases, we have seen that demand has been raised without any underlying proceedings, on assumptions only, and on false credentials. So we should challenge these demands.
Okay, so it's a good point, sir, that taxpayer has to analyze all the important aspect before replying to it. Yeah. So we have one query, that is, please explain 129. I hope that you have touched upon that point. Okay, so
I think 129 will take another half an hour.
yeah, it's a
So
big
we
topic.
can keep it at a next webinar.
Yeah, that would be fine, right? So we can, I think, conclude. So participant, if you still have any query, you can mail it us.
With regard to 61, 65, 73, 74, then I will be happy to answer them.
Yeah. So with respect to today's webinar, you
Section
have any
129
query?
will be out of jurisdiction in this project.
Okay, right. So the email ID is ca.hsinghal@gmail.com, or you can mail it to us at taxupdate.otu@gmail.com. So both email ID will be provided in the PPT. We will share you the PPT also after the webinar. Okay, so thank you, participant, for joining and allowing us to share knowledge with you all. And special thanks to CA Hemant Singhal Ji for taking out time and sharing your knowledgeable experience with us. Now, I hope we can conclude the session for today. We shall soon meet on the next webinar on interesting topic in GST. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Singhal Ji, and thanks, participant.
Thank you, Ganeshan ji. Thanks all the participants.
Yeah.
It was a nice interactive session. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.